All right, so good afternoon to everyone who is here either on live or YouTube. We continue with our book reviews, and today we have only one book, but for a change, there will be two reviewers. We have the principal of Tung Ling. Sorry, is it Tung Ling Bible School? Dr. Ng Wah Lok, who is
The Tung Ling
pastor
Seminary, yeah.
Tung Ling Seminary.
Tung Ling Seminary.
And for many years, I think over a decade, and he has kindly come in to say a few words about Brother Andrew Koh's book. Yeah. So over to you, Pastor Ng Wah Lok. You can be a review, or you can have a conversation, or you can have a chat. I leave it to you. Yeah, to take over from now.
Yeah.
Thank you,
okay,
Pastor
so
Benjamin.
maybe I'll just
do.
Yeah, I'll do a short review on the book. Okay, firstly, I think the book of Revelation is actually a very difficult book to read, and already.
Your sound is breaking.
Okay. Okay. So Revelation is a very difficult book to study, and because there are because the prophetic is the only prophetic book in the New. Also, it's apocalyptic and so full of visions. Okay, is it better now? My audio?
Much better.
Okay. So Revelation has always been a little difficult to understand because it's apocalyptic, book, and it's full of vision, and also the authorship has been, quite initially. They didn't think whether it was John, the apostle who wrote it. Very late canonized books because they were not very sure. But later, I think they decided that actually it was John who wrote it, and so they decided to canonize it. That's why the book of Revelation is in our Bible. If they didn't think that the apostle John wrote the book, actually there would be the book would not be canonized. So I think so many books in the market on the book of Revelation are very complicated, full of charts, and usually not written devotionally. So I think this book that Dr Koh has written, is actually a little bit very easy to read and not so deep in theology, and not very strong, like pushing his views through. Basically, sharing different views to all of us, and also there is a introduction, and then for every chapter of his book, he's giving commentary on each chapter of the book of Revelation. So there are 22 chapters in his book. And what I like about it is that actually you can actually 23 weeks, like including the introduction, and so every week I think you can easily introduce the book to friends, for them to do Bible study, and because it's not so deeply theological, it's very easy to read. Okay. And also there's a devotional part. I think for every chapter there is the application, and there is that prayer lah. So I think the goal that Andrew wants. So I think he wants his book to maybe have a little changing effect on people lah. Okay, so maybe I would like to just ask Andrew some questions. Let's hear some of his opinions. Okay, and I've already passed him some of these questions. The first question that I like ask him is, he wrote, Andrew, you wrote the book very quickly, okay, and together with during the pandemic. Okay, so I would like to know actually what inspired you to write this book so quickly, and in particular the book of Revelation, and were there any specific major lessons you learned or you want to communicate in your book of Revelation?
Thank you, Reverend Wah Lok. I wrote many Bible study books during the pandemic because I have so much time. Firstly, I did not have a day job to do. I did not have any day job to do. I do not have to pastor a church. So every day for me is a free day. In fact, I just finished one more book on the life of Abraham. Yesterday, I just completed a book yesterday. Of course, you need to touch up. You need another month to touch it up, but the skeleton has already come up. So everybody has 24 hours a day. You can waste it or you can redeem it. You can waste it or you can redeem it. The books I wrote, this book that I wrote is a Christ-centered, life-changing. In fact, all the books that I wrote are Christ-centered, life-changing, and Holy Spirit enabled. My aim is to teach the Bible so that readers will become biblically literate. Because there are many false teachings nowadays, and many people are led astray by sweet talking, what do you call it? Very good speaker, very good showmanship, but they are leading the people astray. So the only way to counteract this is to be biblically literate. We need to go back to the Bible and get a balanced theology. We must not go to the extreme to the left or extreme to the right. For example, when you say grace, it is grace. There's no hyper grace. There's no such thing as hyper grace. Grace is grace. That's it. You don't go extreme hyper grace until there is so much grace. So the thing that I learned from this book of Revelation actually took me a long time. It's not that short. It took me quite a struggle for the book. But I learned that you can actually understand Revelation. You can actually understand Revelation if you set your heart and minds to it. You don't worry, don't be scared.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you're answering a little bit of my second question. So maybe I'd like to ask my second question. There are many books on Revelation. You studied under Paul Tan, and then also Kevin Conner's got a thick book. And recently there are some other authors. They've written the book of Revelation, charts and so on. So in your approach to the book, you didn't use any charts, but mainly a devotional, more and maybe more of explaining and then cross-referencing a lot of verses relating to the text that you are addressing. So I would like to know maybe why what is your book? Why is your book different from the rest? And what is your main goal that you want to achieve when you write this book? And how do you think your book will be able to help grow in their faith?
Okay. Revelation is not an easy book to study. Ideally, you need to read the whole Bible first before you even read Revelation. There are many books on Revelation, but most of them are very complicated. They are very technical, and they are very academically oriented. So the purpose of my book is to explain Revelation verse by verse from chapter 1 to chapter 22 in a way that is easy to follow. It is not too academic, and yet not too simplified. My aim is to encourage readers to read Revelation for themselves and not just listening to others and believe everything they hear. Remember, the Bereans believers were more honorable than the Thessalonians believers, because after hearing what they hear from Paul, they go back to the Bible and check it up for themselves. That is the way you should study the Bible. So as I was said earlier, this book is a Christ-centered, life-changing, Holy Spirit-enabled expository commentary, Bible study guide, and daily devotion. Cell groups can use this book as a weekly Bible study guide over 22 weeks. In fact, I will be using this book for the church Bible study over 22 weeks. I think it will be a good idea.
Yeah, it's a very, very good approach, because I think it's quite, you can read it quite quickly. Every week, one chapter, that would be good. Okay, my next question is really, I know part of your book you mentioned, you studied under Paul Tan. Long time, we Paul Tan was a principal of Tongling in Singapore, and he used to travel down all over the country, especially used to travel in Ipoh, and then he used to teach about Revelation and so on. And I think you mentioned Paul Tan's view quite strongly was post tribulation, and your view is slightly different from him in terms of the tribulation. Okay, so can you maybe share your post, mid, or pre-trib, and how do you develop your end time eschatology? Where do you develop it from, or has it changed over time or not? Yeah.
The late brother Paul Tan was a very staunch post-tribulationist. In fact, he will scold you if you adopt any other position. He will scold you. But I personally, I dare not make a judgment call on this. Personally, I do not adopt any particular position. So in my book, I don't mention that I adopt any particular position. But personally, I am more in favor of a mid-tribulation rapture. Because from the book of Daniel, the Antichrist will set up his image in the third temple in the middle of the 7 years, But the Jews will refuse to worship the Antichrist, and then troubles will break out. The peace treaty will be terminated. The Jews will be, persecuted, and Jesus Christ, and at that moment in time, the rapture will come to rapture the people out of the situation, because the next 3.5 years were going to be a very difficult time. That is what I feel, but we should not be dogmatic on this. We should not quarrel over this, because we don't know. On this side of eternity, we do not know.
So it's interesting. Your view is a little different, because normally when we are sitting under a big Bible teacher like Paul Tan, or sometimes even Kevin Conner, or sometimes over years, I sat under Kevin Conner for 50 hours, so it's a long time, and he's post-trib. So, but I think over time, I have developed my own understanding of the book of Revelation. So when I read Revelation, I quite clear. I don't depend on anybody or any book. Actually, as I read the book, I develop my own view on those verses, how they are. Okay, so we come to my next question. Uh, I always want to people's views on the book of Revelation, whether it is actually chronologically written or not. Because some people, like when they interpret Revelation, they jump here, jump there, and they don't see it chronologically. So for me, as I read Revelation, I try to see it, and I see it unfolding chronologically, like that means the church, seven churches, and then the seals and so on, the trumpets, and then the bowls. I see like chronologically, and then tribulation, then a millennium, and then the new heavens and so on. I see like chronologically. So, maybe you can share your views, since you have also studied the book of Revelation. Do you see the entire book of Revelation in sequence of events? That is, the author didn't jump here, jump there, and then go to the past or the future. Chronologically open, like peeling the banana like that. Okay. How is your view?
To me, Revelation is a chronological book. But there are five parentheses. There are five parentheses or pauses between the sixth and the seventh trumpet, between the sixth and the seventh seal, between the sixth and the seventh bowl, and two other places. There is parentheses whereby the author goes on an excursion. Many academic writers, they write and then they go on an excursion, then they come back again and continue the chronology. The chronology of Revelation is as follows. Chapter 1 deals with the past, John's vision of the glorified Christ. Chapter 1 is on the past event. Chapter 2 and 3 deals with the present event, Christ's 7 letters to the 7 churches. That is the present event as far as John is concerned. And then we have chapter 4 to chapter 22 is the future event. These are the events that has not happened now. The 7-year tribulation, the 21 judgment, 21 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls, 21 judgment. And then we have the millennial kingdom, New Jerusalem, new heaven, new earth, and the eternal universe. So it's all very chronological. I don't think you should jump here and jump there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So good. So I also concur with your view. So when I read Revelation, I got a chart, and every chapter I map out this chapter. This I say this tribulation, a great tribulation, and so on. And then that the Antichrist is coming here, 2 witnesses here, and then and then of course I personally don't believe. I don't use the term rapture. I use the term first resurrection. That's where we go up to heaven. So for me, I'm actually also a post trib. That is, I believe that the church should go through the tribulation. So that's how I read it chronologically. Yeah. So, but anyway, everyone has different views on it. Okay, so I come to my last question. There's some people, like on the earth, they always say that the earth will we try to preserve the earth, because one day we were in a millennium, and then we have to bring back the earth, because we are here to stay. So but on another view is that sometimes say this earth after the millennium will be totally destroyed, and then because we all will be going to a new Jerusalem. So maybe you share your views on the earth. What will happen to the earth after the tribulation in the millennium, and after the millennium there is that final the Armageddon, the big battle. Satan is released, and then from the throne, and then he will be defeated, and then there's a new Jerusalem. So do you see the earth totally destroyed after the millennium, that we will all go to a new place, not this earth?
Yes.
You can share your views on this one.
According to the book of Revelation, the entire earth, the entire universe will be destroyed. I think Peter, episode of Peter also has a reference on this that the universe will be burned down, destroyed. it will be replaced by a new heaven, new earth, and a new Jerusalem. In fact, the book of, when you reach Revelation 21, the chapter speaks about a new Jerusalem coming down from heaven descending to earth. Is a new Jerusalem. It's a cubical thing, very huge. Then there will be a new heaven, there's a new earth. And then in Revelation 22 speaks of an eternal universe, a world without end. The eternal universe, you have two throne rooms, no? The throne room of Christ, the throne room of God. The answer is yes, it will be destroyed. I think the universe will be